So, welcome to the 10th episode of the Mailbox Rogues Gallery.
10th episode. Whoever thought we'd get here?
I never thought we'd survive the first recording, to be honest.
No, it's been a long journey, these 10 episodes.
And I think, considering we get both violently very drunk when we record them, I'm surprised that we sort of survive any of them. Like, the way we treat each other and our own bodies as well as each other's.
No, it's not the nicest thing that we could do to one another. I'm surprised they even get edited, actually. We just kind of like wake up and it's already edited, don't we?
I don't know, we must do it in the blackout. I don't understand how that happens, but...
No, well, why change a winning formula if it works, if we get the result at the end of it?
Well, although I just feel one day we'll be very unlucky and the violent drunken part will be the bit that gets released, and then the sort of like witty articulate part that we're doing right now won't get released. It won't ever see the light of day.
No, but I enjoy the first part of it so much that I'm willing to take that risk.
Okay. So our 10th episode. Anything else you want to say on that subject?
What, on the 10th episode?
Yeah.
Well, I'd just like to thank God. I'd like to thank my parents. I'd like to thank my teachers at school for believing in me that I could do this podcast.
No, they never believed in you. I was in some of your classes at school. I distinctly remember various teachers bringing you to the front of the class, looking you in the eye, pointing their finger in your face and telling them they don't believe in you.
I think that was their way of saying that they believed in me, personally.
You think it was like a bit of tough love? They were trying to like give you that push.
Yeah.
You needed.
That's right.
Okay. Well, they obviously just didn't believe in me then, because they kept telling me that they believed in me.
I see. Now, if you'd had that encouragement like I did, you might have turned out all right.
Well, we're both doing the same podcast, so I don't know what the difference would really be. I suppose maybe if I had the encouragement you got, maybe I'd be doing both sides of this podcast. I'd sort of just be like recording one bit of it and then stopping the tape, recording my response and just doing both bits.
Yeah, I think that's how most people do their podcasts, but I know we're a bit unconventional in that regard.
We are. We like to do things our own way.
Yeah.
Our own way.
But our amazing 10th episode, we are going to be talking about none other than...
Sorry, just before you do that, can we just do a little... We say something like, we're going to be discussing somebody who is out of this world. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's try it.
Just carry on where you were, but just add that in.
On our landmark 10th episode, we're going to be talking about someone who is out of this world.
Yeah, great. Who is it?
Let me just get my notes. Neil Armstrong.
Yes, Neil Armstrong. I love it. Good choice for a 10th episode. The first thing that sprang to mind with me is when I googled him, I thought he looked a little bit like Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins. Did you see that at all, or was it just in my head?
Well, I thought he reminded me of some kind of early 90s alternative rocker, but I couldn't quite place it.
There you go, yeah. Obviously, Corgan pre-baldness or post-hair loss. No. Pre-baldness and post-hair loss.
No, they're two different things.
They're opposite.
Yeah.
I know. I messed that up. But he looked like Corgan pre-baldness.
I think Billy Corgan, I think his hair was what was making the music in those days, because he kind of shaved his hair off after Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness.
Well, yeah, but it's not that he's not making music, it's that he's not making good music.
Well, that's right.
He's still making the music, unfortunately.
I think his hair was writing it, and then when it kind of buggered off, he was like, I have to write these songs myself?
They were sort of like Lennon and McCartney, weren't they?
Yeah.
Billy Corgan and his hair. And just one without the other, it's just not the same.
No.
Obviously, the hair went on to have the better of the solo careers.
Oh, yeah, he did really well out of it. Yeah,
Corgan's hair.
Yeah, he had a few stints in Hollywood, those big action films.
Yeah, it was great. Married Yoko Ono.
Yeah.
So, Neil Armstrong, where do you want to start with him?
Well, Neil Armstrong. What can we say about Neil Armstrong?
There's not much to say about him, is there?
No, he didn't do a heck of a lot in his life, did he?
Not a very interesting or accomplished person,
no,
I would say.
Didn't do any big firsts or anything like that, did he?
I feel there might have been one. I just can't put my finger on it.
I only thought he might be good to talk about because his name's a bit funny.
It's a bit funny, but even that is not. It's not very funny, is it?
Well, Neil.
Neil is a pretty funny name, actually. Yeah. What are other funny names?
Other funny names. Wilbur.
I was thinking like Magic Johnson. That's a pretty funny name. Because it sounds like he's got a Magic Johnson.
Never thought of that.
Really?
Yeah, I never.
I always thought of him as a kind of a warlock with a magic penis.
Yeah. Yeah, I never thought of that. I guess he kind of is.
Well, there's something you can take away
Yeah.
from this. If you learn nothing else about Neil Armstrong this episode, you at least learnt that.
But no, he's all seriousness. He's a very
yes, all seriousness now.
Yeah, we don't want to make this podcast into a mockery, for God's sake.
No, God forbid.
No, he's a very important figure in the world of science and particularly physics. Of course, people saying that he was the first man on the moon.
Yeah, he was. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I think what a lot of people don't realise, though, is that he was actually from the moon.
Yeah. But so, I mean, when you sort of put it in that perspective, it's not really so impressive, is it?
No, he was just basically going back home.
Yeah.
And
I do
that
that every now and then.
Yeah, same, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for a moonman, he looks pretty... He blended into society pretty well. I don't think anybody knew he was from the moon until, what, like after a few years after he died, it came out, maybe?
Yeah, people were wondering, like, why is he so keen to go up there?
Yeah.
There's nothing up there, just cheese.
Why does he want to get up there? It's suspicious. We should have maybe looked into him a bit more. I think NASA maybe let their guard down a bit and maybe didn't do the necessary background checks.
Well, then
on this fellow.
They're renowned for not doing the necessary background checks and
Yes,
being
they
a bit
are.
slapdash with their operations.
Just chuck anybody in a spacesuit and blast them into space.
Yeah.
Maybe he is just an idea. Maybe he was playing like hopscotch as a young moon lad and just jumped a bit too high. jumped out of the gravitational pull of the moon, rocketed to Earth, landed in Ohio, and then he was like, well, fuck it, I've got to get home somehow, haven't I? What am I going to do? I have to become a pilot and then join NASA.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and yeah. So he was just like, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, whoa, just floating off. He's like, someone grab me quick.
I mean, what's amazing is he doesn't even know what Mississippi was because he was from the moon.
Oh, yeah, 1 moon, 2 moon. Oh, shit. And he used to look up at the Earth and say, you know what, one day we're going to go there.
Yeah.
And his parents would be, don't be stupid, not in our lifetime.
Mad little moon boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So his first man to return to the moon.
Yeah.
Really, we should say, rather than the first man on the moon. Because obviously his dad was there first.
Oh, yeah.
So his dad... And actually, that's a good point, because his dad's dad must have been the first one. Oh, no, because his dad's dad must have had a dad. So his great-granddad must have been the first man on the moon.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Oh, no, hang on. There's a flaw there.
Right.
He would have had a dad, wouldn't he?
Oh, that's a good point.
How long can we do this for?
Indefinitely, possibly. How much time have we got to kill on this thing?
Oh, well, it's the 10th episode. We can go on a few hours.
A lot of people don't realise as well, he didn't come back for ages. He didn't come back to Earth. I mean, once he got up there, I think he was on the moon for about 17 years, wasn't he?
Something like that. Well, I mean, like, when people go on holiday, they don't kind of like go off in the plane and think that's the best part of the holiday, do they? Or hang around the airport. They want to get out. They want to go on the beach and have a cocktail.
Stretch their legs.
Exactly, yeah. So I can understand him wanting to stay there a bit, get his money's worth. Because, you know, holidays aren't cheap. And outside of the planet Earth, I imagine they'd be a bit more expensive.
Well, I think he's a bit like those expats that moved to Benidorm.
Yeah.
He sort of went, do you know what? This is so great. I'm just going to stay here. And he did, you know. As well as being the first man on the moon, he was the first man to take out a mortgage on the moon. Got himself a lovely little homestead there. Raised some space chickens, space cows, space sheep, space ducks, space donkeys, space horses.
Any other animals?
Space llamas.
Oh,
Yeah, you get that sometimes in a farm these days.
yeah, this is an interesting space farm.
Yes, yes. So he just did that, and he lived on the moon for 17 years. I guess where he was from, his home, before returning to Earth in 1986.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he had this mad time where in between 1969 and 1986 there was quite a lot had happened culturally. He needed a lot of filling in when he got back. I mean, that's slap bag in the middle of the 80s, practically.
Yeah, think of all the things he missed during those 17 years.
Wham. Although they were probably in full swing in 86.
Oh yeah,
I'm not a whamologist.
No, he probably would have been there just like on the cusp of Wham.
Yeah, yeah. He missed all sorts really. The 70s for one thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hawkwind, missed them in their heyday.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he missed. What else? He missed the Generation game with Bruce Forsyth.
Was that in the 70s? I seem to remember watching that, but I think I'm thinking of Jim Davidson.
Well, Jim Davidson did it when we were
in the
kids.
90s. Yeah, he was fun before he was racist, wasn't he? He was a lot of fun until he got really racist.
Barrel of laughs.
Yeah,
Mr. Blobby.
Great. Well, Mr. Blobby was on the Generation game.
Yeah, he was the camera operator.
Oh, okay. So he wasn't on camera; he was behind camera.
He was off-screen talent. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because I always associate him with Noel Edmonds and all those weird blobby theme parks that are dotted around the country.
Yeah, there was one near where we live, isn't there?
There's one in Cornwall, Dobwalls in Cornwall.
Dobwalls, yeah. Oh, I used to love going there.
Oh, me too. You can find pictures of them online now. All these Mr. Blobby theme parks were just like went into administration in the 90s, and then they're just like the most haunting places you've seen now. There's all these like pink and yellow spotted blobby eyes peering out from like overgrown bushes and weeds and things like that. Oh, they're really something. Yeah, I'll take you there one day.
Oh, sounds great, yeah.
We'll do that as like a little Mailbox Rogues Gallery outing.
Yeah, on scene. We could take a little kind of, have a little Blair Witch style kind of...
Yeah, why not?
We just like wake up and our bags are gone. It's like, those eyes weren't looking in that direction the night before.
Oh, sounds haunting.
Going back to like his early years, so he grew up in Ohio.
This is after he'd come from the moon to Earth.
That's right, yeah. So he spent most of his life in Ohio, and he kind of had a fascination with planes and aerospace technology even then, which I guess coming from the moon, he would have.
Yeah, explains why he was so weird.
He has a degree in aerospace engineering.
Big whoop.
Yeah, we've all got one of those these days.
Yeah. It's all right. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying
yeah.
we've all got one.
Yeah, it'll get you from A to B, I guess.
Exactly.
He also fought in the Korean War.
Good for him.
Which, being from the moon, what stake did he have in that war?
Yeah, I wonder that. I suppose then, do you think he was a bit like Superman in that like a little old woman and her husband found him in a field somewhere and like adopted him and raised him as their own on this farm in Ohio?
Now that you mention it, there are a lot of comparisons and parallels with the Superman story, because Ohio is very much like Smallville, that Superman grew up in. Yeah. So yeah, he crash lands in Ohio, and like this unsuspecting Mr. and Mrs. Armstrong see him.
Mrs. Armstrong, yeah, because I think he used to be called Neil Gleepglop.
Yeah, that's right.
He lived on the moon, but they were like, we'll just call you Armstrong. So yeah, I suppose that explains why he fought for America. At least he didn't. If he crash landed in Korea, everything would be different. But
in the war, he flew 78 combat missions. He spent 121 hours in the air.
121 hours for 78 missions. It sounds like he was just like nipping up there and nipping back down again really quick.
Actually, now that you mention it, yeah, hang on a sec. So 73 hours and 2 broken abacuses later. Right, so I've just worked out on average, he was in the air about 35 minutes a mission.
It's not very much, is it? What's he getting done in 35 minutes?
Yeah, not very much. I can't get very much done at work in 35 minutes.
Well, if you think when you're on a commercial air flight, it's about 10 minutes before you can take your seatbelt off. So what was it? So then he's got
and the tray.
Yeah, that's it. And the tray that has to stay up. So then he's that's 10 minutes. Then he can, fight the war for 15, and then it's time to come back down again.
And it wasn't a short war. It went on a few years, the Korean War.
Yeah. I wonder how he... This goes back to NASA not really thinking much about who they're fucking sending it up to the moon in a spaceship.
No, had they known he hadn't really chipped in during the war, I'm sure they wouldn't have hired him at all.
Yeah. I really hope that no American patriots ever listen to this episode, because they're going to fucking hate it. I suppose he played a part. A cog in the machine.
Yeah, he did his bit.
Yeah. Even if it wasn't much, he did his bit. What did he do after that, then?
After that, he studied a master's, if I remember rightly, and then that led to him getting a job in NASA.
As a spaceman?
Yeah, well, not straight away. He was kind of working behind the scenes for a while. I think he joined in the mid to late 50s. If I remember rightly.
Was it a bit like Good Will Hunting? Was he the janitor?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
One of the professors put an unsolvable problem on the blackboard, and he was just walking past sweeping, and then he's, I'll have a go at this. And do you know what? I bet he just guessed as well. It was just luck.
Yeah.
And they're like, right, off to the moon you go.
That's so him, isn't it? Yeah. Just falling on his feet.
Well,
just like when he fell from the moon to Earth, he fell on his feet there.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
Lucky bastard.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. He's just kind of cleaning up, and then he sees a board with all these equations. He draws a picture of the moon.
Yeah. And they're like,
the moon, never thought of that.
Yeah, we were going to fly into the sun.
Yeah.
The moon, great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, because originally they were going to see how close they have to get to the sun to pop popcorn.
Which I reckon you could get. I suppose it's that golden point, close enough to pop popcorn, but not so close that you burn to death.
Yeah, well, that's really what they were trying to go for and find out, which I think would have really been worth American tax dollars back in the 60s. That would have been far more interesting than what actually ended up happening.
I think JFK was willing to spend the money when he really funneled all that American tax dollars into the US space program.
Well, yeah, of course, because there was that famous speech. It's we plan, before the decade is out, to pop popcorn near the sun.
Yeah, he said that.
But, wasn't true to his word, ended up going to the moon instead.
And meanwhile, the Russians had their own competing cosmonaut program.
Oh, yeah.
They were trying to pop popcorn in the centre of the Earth. They were going the other way.
Yeah, pesky Russians.
Well, they'll get there one day. They'll get to the centre of the Earth one day.
Yeah, meet the mole people. But back in the late 50s up until, when the actual moon landing happened, there was a fierce competition between both America and Russia as to kind of space exploration and who would kind of have these certain feats first. And Neil Armstrong in 1958 was selected for, now I love the name of this.
Right.
He was selected for the Man in Space Soonest program.
That's great. The Man in Space Soonest program.
They didn't waste time trying to think of some kind of cool name.
Yeah.
Just
or even a code name.
Yeah. It's Welcome to Space Venture 3000. Something like that. I'd be like, ooh, this is pretty cool. But no, they were just kind of literally wearing their heart on their sleeve. No, in space soonest.
Yeah. We want them up there quick. Well, I suppose that just shows how fast the race was. They didn't even have time to slow down and think of a name for the race.
They couldn't think of a good name, so it was what do we want? A Man in Space Soonest? That's what we're calling it.
Yeah.
It's already written.
Well, I like their honesty. And he got there, didn't he?
Yeah, but there were a few different feats. It was very much neck and neck between the Americans and the Russians with the space race. Of course, the first living thing up in space was no man. It was a dog.
I know. It was a little old Laika, wasn't it?
Laika, the Russian pooch.
Laika, the Russian space dog. I like the idea that the dog was the first thing in space. I bet he looked adorable in his little space helmet, in his little spacecraft.
I like to think around that time when Laika was sent off into space, he's there in his little space suit, drinking water from a space bowl, and I like to think some aliens kind of thought, you know what? We've given them a few thousand years. Let's see how the human race is getting on.
Yeah.
Let's see if they're ready for first contact. And they go by and they see this thing floating about. It's What's that? Oh, I think they've discovered space travel.
Oh, well done, humans.
Jeez, let's get a bit of a closer look. Let's try and point the microphones to them and see what's going on in there. Ruff. What the hell was that? Ruff. Have they put a dog in space?
Those idiots.
Right, we'll come back in another 5,000 years. We'll leave them to it. They're obviously still fucking idiots.
Still working on it, yeah. How annoyed do you think he was that he fucked up the line? You know when he got off the spaceship and he went, "This is one giant leap for man." And he said man instead of a man. He was meant to say one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. Otherwise it doesn't make any sense.
Is that what he said when he got up there?
Yeah. He said one small... You know this.
I didn't think that was his first words.
Well, it might not have been his very first word.
No, I thought he went up there and was like, what is it he says? To infinity and beyond.
No, you're thinking of someone different. Very similar. You're thinking of Buzz Lightyear. That was it.
Buzz Lightyear. Well, he was also in the mission, wasn't he?
No. Now you're thinking of Buzz Aldrin. Very similar. Yeah, I can see how you got confused there.
Yeah. So what did he say? A small man leapt a lot?
Yeah, he says there's one small man leaping onto the moon.
One small man leapt. A giant...
Slept.
Yeah, it's quite poetic, I thought.
It's an old Chinese proverb that he'd heard on the way up. They had some Chinese food.
On the way up.
Yes, he had a Chinese takeaway on the way up, and that was in the fortune cookie.
He hadn't prepared a speech. He was just like, shit, I need something. What's in this fortune cookie?
Yeah.
That'll do.
Yeah. And people were trying to figure this one out for decades.
This is what they'll remember me for.
Yeah. But seriously, that is really stupid, isn't it? Fluffing the line. Because he must have prepared it beforehand. Or someone in NASA told him to say this for the cameras.
Well, I remember reading that he kind of like apparently figured it out very shortly before the actual mission. Kind of thought of what he was going to say.
Right. Well, then either way, he fluffed his line.
Didn't have much rehearsal time. I think we can give him that.
Yeah. I don't know. For one of the most historic steps in human history, just to fuck up the line, I just think it's bad show. Then again, he wasn't a native English speaker, was he? He's from the moon.
Yeah,
so it wasn't his first language.
No, moon speak was.
Yeah. Well, he probably wouldn't have fucked it up if he was speaking his native tongue.
No.
In the 90s, he had a bit of a rebrand, didn't he? He became Neil Ally McBeal Armstrong.
Yeah,
I was doing air quotes there around Ally McBeal. But he starred in that 90s sitcom, didn't he?
Yeah, Ally McBeal.
Ally McBeal. He played the titular Neil Ally McBeal Armstrong. Very wildly popular. Won the hearts of millions, didn't he?
Yeah, it was nice to see him kind of get that spotlight again, but in a different kind of area. From, being someone who's highly influential in aerospace and science to kind of light sitcom entertainment.
Yeah. Well, I feel it was a bit of a step up in his career. He'd had a bit of a down period between 1969 and 1997, but the rebranding and starring in the sitcom, I thought it just brought him back into the limelight. We were all very pleased to see him.
Yeah, it was nice to have him back. I mean, following the popularity of that, he also did a lot of those adverts, didn't he? He advertised all sorts. I think he was, I don't know, maybe kind of saving up for when he got to pension age.
So very important.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But, I mean, he was doing advertisements for a lot of kind of moon-related products, a lot of cheese. He was advertising, like moon cheese.
Well, I probably made a lot of moon cheese on his farm.
Yeah, well, he brought...
Space farm.
Yeah, he
brought
from
it back.
from his moon cows, but he brought a load of moon cheese back with him. And that's kind of like how he made most of his money when he returned.
You don't get paid a lot to go into space, I don't think.
No, it's pittance.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, you probably have to pay to do it. Such an experience.
Yeah, I mean, your name gets put in a newspaper, but people are eating their fish and chips out of that the next day. Nobody remembers.
Yeah, well, there's a sorry tale, isn't there? No, yeah, largely forgotten until the 90s sitcom, and then in the 2000s, the cheese empire that he founded.
Yeah. People don't even link him with the guy who went to the moon.
Is that the same guy?
Yeah.
Neil Armstrong.
Oh, Neil Ally McBeal Armstrong, the cheese pundit. I love that.
Did he? He wasn't the Neil Armstrong that went into the moon, was he?
Jesus, I thought he died years ago.
Who do you think like his favourite other world figure from history to hang out with was?
What you mean, like who he'd want to hang out with in human history?
No, like in his time, he was a world figure, wasn't he, in history? So I'm thinking, like, maybe do you think he'd get on with Nelson Mandela? Maybe. Do you think they'd be pals?
Him and Nelson. I don't know. What were his views on apartheid?
Hard to tell. Will we just assume that he was for it?
I'll assume that.
Based on no evidence whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
It was 50-50, isn't it? He was either for it or against it.
Exactly,
so
yeah. We can only be wrong or right.
Exactly, yeah. So, maybe not such a fan of Mandela's. But yeah, what other historical, world figures from that time do you think he would have really, really got on with?
I think he would have been a big fan of Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, because he flew like a butterfly, stung like a bee. And there were lots of kind of like creatures like that on the moon. So I'm sure he would have kind of found him quite
useful.
Yeah, well...
Pest control.
Yeah, exactly.
Space butterflies and space bees. Fucking nuisance they are when you're trying to grow your cabbages.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah,
and your begonias.
But it would remind him of home.
Yeah.
Even in that kind of circumstance. So I'm sure he'd kind of like get on with him.
During that silence there, I was 100% sure that you were going to go for Michael Parkinson.
Oh, no. Right, we mentioned this before the episode that Parky, who must not be named,
he comes up a lot.
He does come up a lot. I was doing all right. I hadn't mentioned him once. Hadn't gone at any point. And it was you that had to bring him up.
Just because I was certain, I was like, after a moment, I was like, I've given him the perfect entrance. Like...
I saw your face. I thought, has he thought of a funny person he could hang out with? But no, you just assumed the worst about me.
Yeah.
And I proved you wrong.
Well, you're obsessed. You're absolutely obsessed with Michael Parkinson.
Well, I mean, I know I dress like him, and like when I'm out and about, I talk like him.
Yeah. Giving away Parky pens all the time.
Yeah, I've got like a little Walkman that I've got like a pair of speakers with, and whenever I kind of like walk into a room, I'll play the theme song and just kind of like wave.
Yeah.
In the hope that people will clap when
Start
I come
clapping,
in. Yeah. They never do.
Tragic, really.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, they've seen it 100 times, mate. They've seen it 100 times.
Yeah, my co-workers are
You
a bit
keep a
fed up.
close circle of friends, and we've all seen it. I don't know what else to say.
Well, why don't you guys indulge me?
We did the first 50 times, but Parky had a very long television career. I suppose you're trying to match that, at least.
Yeah, exactly.
If not best it.
Yeah, I reckon I could.
I mean, it wouldn't be a milestone episode of the Mailbox Rogues Gallery if we didn't fucking mention Michael Parkinson. So maybe it's just best that we got it out of the way, I preempted that that's what you were going to say. I was wrong, but we've got it out in the open. We can just forget about him now.
Right. I mean, I don't know what the episode count will have to be before we mention him again. Maybe we should set some parameters here, like when we can mention him next.
I mean, we could just edit it out. There's just the option of like, no,
No.
you're shaking your head. Once it's mentioned, it has to go in.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was our parents' generation who sat down to watch Michael Parkinson and his interviewing. I mean, we were a bit young for it, really, by the time it went off the air.
I liked him. I liked watching him when I was little.
Oh, I liked it too. But I wouldn't have, my parents had it on and I was in the room. I wouldn't have sat down to watch it. I would have been watching Barker Grove.
That's another thing. These 90s TV references from Britain.
Right, let's just forget about it. Let's just sail past this.
I was thinking before this started, it's like, right, Neil Armstrong, we've got a chance here to really branch out and grab that American audience. But no, fucking Biker Grove.
The Americans switched off the moment we started bad-mouthing Neil Armstrong and the Korean War.
And I mentioned the Generation Game, I just realised.
Yeah. Well, I think we should just forget British light entertainment television. We've got to sail right past it. We'll get back to whatever the fuck it is we were talking about.
I promise, listener, from now on we will be far more concise.
He also famously set up his Neil's on Wheels business, where he went around delivering his space cheese to elderly people.
Yeah, that was really good.
It's a successful public service, I feel.
Yeah, it's nice that he decided to give back to the community that kind of raised him, because really he was an illegal alien coming to this planet, but we kind of like embraced him. and took him with open arms. So it was nice to see him kind of give back with a little bit of cheese for the elderly.
And, think of all the American tax dollars that were spent just getting him home. It was only right that he comes back and pays something back to society. I mean, he'll never pay enough out to match it, but we didn't ask for that. But God bless him for trying.
Yeah, no one expected it.
Yeah. It's the thought that counts, I think.
Although the moon is about 3 times smaller than it was because of the amount of cheese he brought back from the moon.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
But, we don't need a big moon. Not many people living up there as well. It's just his family, from what I recall.
I think it's better this way. Genuinely took you by surprise for some reason.
Trying to think of some cheese puns. He damn near made a mockery of himself.
That wasn't very good, was it?
To be honest, it probably wasn't my best.
Please tell me that if these stay in, we've got to at least make them run a bit swifter. These long gaps.
No, I think people should know how bad we are at improvisation. This is what you expect from us.
Didn't Samuel Pepys say this is the lowest form of wit? The cheese pun?
Oh, what did he know?
Probably never even had Gorgonzola.
Wrote about a fire once. I've seen fire before.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was alright. I wouldn't write a book about it.
It wasn't great. It wasn't a great fire.
No, not.
Unlike his.
Thinking about it, what a nasty man saying the fire was great.
Yeah, think of all those people that died and all
Yeah.
those buildings that burnt down.
To then just say, oh yeah, it was a great fire.
Great Fire of London, that. Oh, Great Fire of London, that.
Maybe the greatest fire of London I've ever seen.
Bastard.
Yeah, horrible man.
Well, we're covering a lot of ground historically, so that's good.
Yeah, we're kind of jumping in here, there, and everywhere, aren't we?
It's quite unlike us.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back to Neil.
On wheel, Armstrong.
Niels on Wheels Armstrong. What else did he do when he got back from the moon? I found this quite funny. In 2005, he sued his barber of 20 years. This is a man he'd been going to get his hair cut for 20 years, probably trying to make sure he didn't look like Billy Corgan.
Yeah.
His barber started selling cuttings of his hair without his knowledge for like $3,000 a pop.
That's space hair.
That
People
lovely,
need it.
that lovely
How much?
space hair.
$3,000 a pop?
Yeah.
What, you mean...
I don't necessarily mean
per
like
clump, you mean like...
I don't know what the quantity of hair was, but I'm assuming it wasn't per single hair, because you can't make a wig out of a single hair. But
a clump, like a Sherman clump of hair.
Yeah, what was that? Was Sherman Klump the guy from Nutty Professor?
Yeah, he was the
Right.
big fat professor that Eddie Murphy played. So a lot of hair.
A clump. There's a lot of hair. If we're going by that scale, if that's what the definition of clump we're using is, then that's a lot of hair.
Well, that's how I measure everything, really, in metric clumps.
See, I use the old imperial clump. We're from different worlds, me and you. I'm of the old world.
No, I often go to the butcher's and be like, half a clump of sausages, please. There's a lot, to be fair, but I'll get through sausages.
Yeah. And he says, now, are you talking about Klump from the Nutty Professor or Nutty Professor 2, The Klumps? Because in that one, there was a lot of clumps. There was about 8 of them, if I recall.
Well, there was always quite a few clumps in the clump duology.
Duology? I've never heard that word before. Let alone to describe the 2 Nutty Professor films.
The Klump saga.
Yeah. Yeah, now, it's been a while since I've seen the film, but, forgive me if I'm wrong, but were there a lot of fart jokes in that film?
There were a lot of fat people breaking wind around a dinner table.
Gold. Comedy gold.
I mean, I found it relatable.
Yeah. It's a regular Saturday night at your house, isn't it? Yeah. This is the second time we've talked about this as well, if I recall.
Yeah, we did mention the clumps.
Roger
This really is a 10th episode special where we kind of like almost reminisce about episodes of years gone by.
We've got so much history, me and you in this podcast. We go way back. This is it's almost like a best of episode, except we're talking about all the shit bits from other episodes and dredging them back up again.
That's all there is.
Well, going back to the barber. So this guy, without his knowledge, was selling clumps of his hair, which, as we've established, is a lot of hair.
Yeah.
And for actually $3,000, that's quite cheap. I mean, buying that much of anybody's hair for $3,000 is probably quite a good bargain.
I guess, yeah, he would have had to have made quite a few hairdressing trips, wouldn't he?
Well, he was cutting his hair for 20 years.
Yeah, I guess.
So yeah, Neil Armstrong sued him because it was like, I'm not too happy about you selling my hair without my knowledge.
Well, he had a similar problem with people asking for autographs. He stopped signing autographs for people.
Yeah, in the 90s.
Yeah, because they were just selling them online.
Not the spirit of it, is it? He should have been inspiring young cosmonauts and astronauts.
Yeah, to sell cheese to the elderly and go into space.
But then again, I suppose if he was the only person who was originally from space, he can't really it's not fair for him to expect everybody to want to go to space.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to space. It's far away.
It is, yeah, it's quite
cold
a journey.
As well. It's cold. I don't even want to go to Norway. That's cold and far away. Let alone space.
Yeah, it's a different world, they say, in space.
Well, there's the famous saying, in space, nobody can hear African-American families fart at the dinner table.
So, he's a very well-loved and well-renowned figure, Neil Armstrong, with everything that he did for space travel and science. But there's a lot of people who are quite sceptical as to whether he actually went to the moon at all.
What do you reckon? Did he go?
I don't know. I mean, I know we've talked about him coming from the moon and everything like that.
It's one thing to play hopscotch and jump from the moon to Earth.
Yeah, that I can believe.
Yeah, but for a man to get in a rocket ship and fly to the moon, I don't know, it just seems a bit much, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was a moon man, so I could understand that, but we're just human. Like, that kind of technology. I'm on the fence, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a lot of very possible theories as to how it was staged and why. I mean, the one prominent theory with the moon landing being a hoax is that America wanted to win the space race really badly, and they wanted to beat Russia at any cost. So they shot it in a studio.
Yeah. Why didn't Russia think of that? Because I've seen Rocky 4, and what I learnt from that is the Russians are cheaters in the great battles between East and West. I'm pretty sure the Russian guy was doping or on steroids or something. There was some sort of cheating going on.
Yeah, whatever it was, I didn't like it.
Yeah, so, with that in mind, how come the Russians just didn't shoot it first?
Well, that's the thing, they did, but they went the wrong way about it. They got wind of the fact that America were considering filming it in a studio. But what Russia ended up doing was they ended up filming it as a studio sitcom.
Oh, yeah, right.
And people just saw through it straight away. So
Yeah.
hang on a minute.
Hang on, there aren't TV audiences on the moon laughing along?
The first episode in particular, because it was centered around the Moonsons.
Yeah,
it was this
Sergei Moonson and his family.
That's right. Yeah, there was a dad, a wife, and a boy and a girl. And it was kind of he'd walk in, the applause, "Honey, I'm home." He's like, "Oh, hi dear, tea's nearly ready." And then he'd drop his keys, bend over to pick him up, and then the kid would go, "Oh, looks like he's giving me the moon." Studio audience showing his ass.
And then the keys are actually just start floating in the middle of the room, and then everything in the room starts floating, including the people. But they're obviously all on strings.
That's right. They were very thick strings.
More like rope.
Yeah,
than string.
Didn't fool anyone.
No, bungee rope.
Yeah, and so they kind of they showed that, and everyone was just like, "Yeah, you're not fooling us."
No.
But, it ran for 10 seasons.
It was a great show. It was a classic.
Oh, it was a beautiful show.
The best thing to come out of Russia since Tolstoy, if you ask me.
Yeah, better than Tolstoy.
Okay, you heard it here first, that's everybody. Better than Tolstoy, says James Burch.
The Moonsons.
The Moonsons.
Another thing as well is that a lot of kind of conspiracy theorists pick up on is the flag.
they accidentally put a Russian flag on the moon first.
Yeah, exactly.
Buzz Aldrin famously gets very, very pissed off with people asking him whether it's a hoax or not.
I think he's punched a few people, hasn't he?
Fair fucks to him. Punch as many people as he likes. He's a poor old man who's getting hassled by these people who doesn't believe he's been to the moon. Years ago.
It is pretty bad, because that is very much what he will be remembered for, like, for the rest of his life. And if he's got people saying, oh, like, fuck, did you do that?
You didn't get to the fucking moon. Or I fucking did.
I'll send you to the fucking moon, you can't. And he just wails.
That's his catchphrase, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, famously, when he got back from the moon, he'd kind of go on these American, like, afternoon talk shows.
Yeah.
Like, in front of an audience of, like, families. He's like, I'll send you to the moon, you fucking cunt. And all the kids and everyone would be laughing and applauding.
Oh, great fun.
Yeah, he sold
Innocent fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he sold a lot of T-shirts.
I've got one. It's vintage now. They don't make them anymore. But I found it on eBay.
Oh, I want that on a T-shirt. Oh, if we branch into merchandising.
Oh, that's got to be our first one. Picture of...
I'll send you to the moon, you fucking cunt.
Picture of Buzz Aldrin with his fists up.
So there we have it. The life and times of Moon Man extraordinaire Neil Armstrong.
Truly an inspired tale of a young moon boy who fell to Earth and made his way back.
Moon Boy did good.
Moon boy did good, yes, yes. God bless him. What was that, Apollo 11 that he was on?
Yeah, that's right.
That's a good one, wasn't it? That was the one that didn't go wrong.
Yeah.
Got the man to the moon, happily lived there, came back eventually. Good for him.
I'm sure he was bricking it, though, seeing some of the other ones.
Yeah, they didn't all go that well, did they?
No, some of them blew up.
Tom Hanks had a really shit time in Apollo 13 as well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it's a wonder he was able to act after that, after the explosion.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we picked a good person for our 10th episode. Pretty historic. I think he's up there.
Very important figure. Yeah, our wonderful 10th episode. You never know. Maybe we'll get to do another 10.
All right. Well, here's to another 10. How can people reach us?
Well, they can reach us on Twitter at Mailbox Rogues. Perhaps let us know what you thought of the episodes and previous episodes, and also what you maybe want to hear in the future from us.
Yeah, we'd like suggestions.
Please, suggestions. You can also get us by email, mailboxroguesgallery@gmail.com. You can listen to us at YouTube, Podbean, and of course iTunes. And if you happen to be on iTunes and you're enjoying the show, please give us a rating and a review. It all goes towards helping the podcast grow.
We want to start making some money out of this. That would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because I'm chomping at the bit. I mean, like I quit my full-time job as soon as we started recording this, hoping the money was going to come in.
Yeah, me too.
Straight away, like in effect, instantly.
I mean, we bought and built this whole recording studio to record this in.
Yeah.
It's fucking expensive.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm living in rags.
Lovely rags, though.
Oh, yeah, they're lovely rags now, but 10 episodes' time, if we're still not making money, I'm going to have to kind of buy a cheaper set of rags.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. God help us. So,
Listener, give us money, please.
So, yeah, no, don't even give us money. Just give us a rating on iTunes. And then I think iTunes gives us some money. I don't know. I don't really know how it works.
I don't know. I think, like, the pod gods... kind of like a bit like the Tooth Fairy, give us money underneath our pillow when we're asleep at night.
Yeah, descend from their pod god mountain.
Yeah, I think that's what a few people were telling me the other day.
Right. Well, thanks for listening. 10 episodes. 10 episodes.
10 episodes. Thank you.
Bye.
Toodles.
Da 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 da.